They're gonna miss your great intro, unfortunately. But if I may summarize it in my words, like I got to. Oh, I think we're getting some feedback here, David. Do you mind if I put you on mute? Oh, I can't do that. I'm not the host. I loved hanging out with some of you about 6 months ago because you asked me some fantastic questions. So I was really excited when Ryan asked me to come back to talk about the challenge mindset again. I think you have something amazing to offer to students, and in combination with the challenge mindset, I'm wondering if it can make your ideas, your vision, your magic come to life in a really powerful way for all sorts of different students. You have so many, the diversity of students that come to see you, the diversity of their needs, their values, their way of looking at the world. How do you go out and get that? How do you find that science inside of them? I think that's what we're going to be talking about today. And we've got a really powerful tool that I hope will get you access to, what's in their hearts so that you can make science and your magic come to life. I'm going to be using slides today during my presentation. I put a link to them here. I see that a lot of you are in the slides that I used last summer. The slides are really close to what that looked like, but would you mind slipping over to this version of the slides? We've got a few updates in terms of the content. And also we've got some logistics information for login for like an activity that we're going to do together today. So if you can use the slides that are in the Zoom today, that would be really useful.
I don't know if I
had to request
I was just going to say,
access.
yeah, I had to do
My
that
mistake.
as well.
I'm like, nobody's going on. What's wrong? You guys don't like me, or what's happening? No, my mistake. My mistake.
We're slow adopters. We're not gonna.
No, you're not
give
slow
it to you that
adopters.
easily.
You're not slow adopters. Sarah, Caitlin, Sabrina, I'm so sorry. Can you please try again? Jasmine, can you get in? Works now, Ian. Good. Okay, we're set. Okay, good. Here we are. Okay, great. Okay, and Ryan, can I assume just like a 50-50 split? Half of the group here today was here in the summer and half wasn't. Is that accurate or not?
I think that's pretty close to accurate. Yeah, I think it'd be close, plus or minus a few.
Okay, great. So let's go back just to let you know, I want to tell you where these ideas come from. My background is in industrial organizational psychology. And that research area is about work. Okay, it's about the psychology of work, and it led me to 8 years of human resources consulting. And I worked for a company called DDI. Do you see that logo at the bottom there, DDI? That's an American company. I worked for them 2 years in Pittsburgh in the US and 2 years in Montreal. And I'm from Ottawa originally. My family's from Timmins, and I'm back in Ottawa now. But that time I spent with DDI, I got to work with all sorts of different organizations and different sectors, and all the insights I got from their leaders and employees, I used to create my own company called SparkPath. So that's some of the background behind these ideas. And the session today is really about your students. I call them your students. You may call them your visitors, but I want to find out, how would you use the challenge mindset with them? What's the outcome going to be? And how is this different or similar than what you're currently doing? These are the questions I'm going to come back to at the end of this presentation, but I want you to keep those in mind as we're going through this. So I want to start off with where their minds are at, when they visit you. And I want to talk to you about job titles. Can you guess how many different job titles that students know about? Can you tell me in the Zoom chat? Actually, give me a number. The people that are coming to visit ScienceNorth are, Max says like 5, Emily says 7, 40. I'm seeing some 20, 15. What do others think? Is it higher or lower than that? 25 is the 100. Look, yours is a bit higher. Ryan, you see 50, Anne Marie 20. Okay, so we've got a range now from, 5 to 100. My next question for you is, how many different jobs are there out there? Again, using the chat, can you take a guess? How many different job titles are there in the world? Everyone's saying millions, infinite, 50,000, too many, more than 6, basically unlimited. Yeah, again, this is why I like working with you all. You really get this, okay? So listen, just to give you a number, the research I've seen, there's at least 20,000, but some of you are way further than this 20,000 number. Why? Well, let's get to that. The problem with job titles is that there's too many to keep track of. The ones that students do know, they focus on prestige and salary, maybe TV characters that they've seen. Some job titles are going to change or don't exist yet. That's why a lot of you said infinity, isn't it? And this was my experience when I was consulting with human resources organizations. They were struggling to write job titles, to write job descriptions because things are moving so quickly. What does that mean for you? Why do you care? Why do your students care? Well, my hypothesis, and you can give me your opinion on it, my hypothesis is that you have some students that walk into ScienceNorth and they say, this is not for me. I don't want to be a scientist. Did you hear what I said? I framed the world through the lens of one job title, and I discounted what didn't fit with that view of the world. Is that your fault that your students are walking in thinking that way? No, it's not your fault, okay? This matchmaking attitude of measuring students and measuring the world of work, that comes from the industrial era. You know, there was a limited number of job titles and trades and professions, and we did a little bit of matching to find the optimal fit for people. This is not the new reality we're preparing them for. Plus, the science that you're giving them and all the other skills that you're giving them and opening up their minds, it applies to so many different areas. They need a different way of looking at the world if they are to take advantage, be open, and listen to everything that you've got to offer. Let me pause there and get a quick check-in. Is that similar to how you see these students, or is it different?
I mean, I can pop in. I think that's bang on. They come in with their preset mind about stuff sometimes, or they see one thing and associate the entire sector with that one thing or that one person or that one personality. And I agree with you that it's not our fault, but I do think that we have a responsibility to try to change that and to move that needle incrementally for the time that we have with them, whether that's a 1-hour program or a week of summer camp or a daily visit with their parents sort of deal.
I like it. I agree with you, Sarah. Responsibility sounds serious, though. What's in it for you? What's the benefit to you?
I mean, I have 4 kids, so there's a lot of responsibility and benefits to making that world a little bit easier and better for them. But I think too, like I know lots of us at ScienceNorth that, grew up on science and ScienceNorth and those sorts of things. Not everybody, but a good number of us can bring that spark back to what we experienced here. And it's a bit self-serving in a way too, to kind of encourage that within students of the next kind of generation, right?
Why? Sorry, Sarah, I'm going to stop picking on you after that one. Why is it self-serving? I would like to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, because then, you get people interested in science at a really young age, or in what it is that we're doing in a really young age, and show them the possibilities. They might, be able to kind of follow that along and keep coming to visit us and be interested in our products and services, maybe be interested in working for us one day, or at the very least, promoting the things that we want promoted, like the misinformation that's out there. They might be able to help battle that in their own way, or have some science literacy in their life and influence others around them.
Thank you. I mean, that's a great way to put it. Anybody want to add to that list of benefits to breaking this mindset? Is there anybody else that maybe disagrees with Sarah, or maybe agrees or wants to add a list of benefits? Could be benefits for students, but it could be benefits for you as well.
I mean, I think the better we prepare students to follow a career path or follow a path, the better we prepare them to be leaders in our future world, to solve the problems that we have in the world, to make the world a better place for everyone, hopefully. big, lofty goals, but important ones.
Yeah, this is long-term implications. You're talking about someone's career and life. Thanks for sharing that, Grace. Anybody else?
To me, it's about showing that it's not too big of a dream, right? Like often we have students and campers that come in and say, well, I can't be a scientist. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the talent. But by using the challenge cards and looking at other options, it's, yeah, you can work for Canadian Space Agency. You don't need to necessarily be an astronaut, right? Like there are ways to be in science and to engage. That is not necessarily the PhD or the physician, right? You can make a difference in, like Sarah was saying about talking about vaccination. There are ways to promote and make a difference in our community and globally. And that's what it's about for me, is inspiring kids that it doesn't matter if you don't see yourself going to college or university. There are other ways, trades might be a stronger opportunity for some versus others. It's still science, it's still engaging, and they'll still have an impact, right?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Tina, for sharing that. A common theme for me that I'm hearing is about opening up their minds. If you can open up their minds in the short term, they're going to participate and be more engaged in whatever it is that you have to offer. And in the long term, there are huge benefits to individuals, society as a whole. And I think this is of tremendous value, right, to both you and to them individually. So thanks for chiming in with your comments. So, I've shown you something that I want to break. So what are we going to replace it with? My invitation to you is to replace the job title with challenges, problems, and opportunities that exist in the world. What do I mean by that? Well, would you rather create new artificial intelligence or end extreme poverty? These are two challenges to work on. Would you mind weighing in? I would love to know through the Zoom chat, which challenge would you rather work on? Extreme poverty, Tina, and poverty. Everyone's poverty so far. David, you see a link between both, which is cool. So do you, Max. I get it. That makes sense. Brendan, so do you as well. I love it. You're making the connection. Naeem as well. Okay, good. I like the connections that you're making. So these are two examples of challenges. And what gets interesting is when you start asking young people, why did you choose that challenge? If you ask them, well, why did you pick extreme poverty? They might tell you about their values, their beliefs, their skills, their experiences, their networks. Asking them about their views on challenges, you can learn so much, so that everything they share with you about themselves, you can use to tailor the rest of your content, teaching, activity to what they care about. And this listening is a really key skill in education, isn't it? Because if we can take the time to listen to students, we can tailor everything else that we're doing. So what are we doing? We're playing a game. This is really a game, isn't it? Choosing one challenge over the other. I would like to play another round. Would you be willing to choose between these two challenges? Which one would you rather work on? Would you rather redesign the healthcare system or improve sustainable energy? Can you please vote using the Zoom chat again? Tina, you voted first for redesign the healthcare system, so that must have rang true for you. Okay, we've got some energy, healthcare. It looks like we're a little bit slanted towards energy, maybe a lot actually. Ryan, okay, no, healthcare, here's a few. Oh, look at that, it was just staggered. That's so funny. Okay, well, for some reason, the energy people voted faster than the healthcare people. Okay, so I'm gonna award you some bonus points for voting first to the energy people. And because Ryan has, indoctrinated me with all this power for this session, I will determine that the energy group is the winner. You won the challenge face-off. Great, I'm glad you're happy, Carrie. I think everyone else is really mad and upset, and they think it's unfair. And I'm glad, because this is what I want to tell you. If you don't choose the challenges you want to work on, someone else will choose for you. That's the key message that students can get from this experience. That for their whole lives, it feels like they're being directed by classes, schools, and teachers. When do they get to choose? It's great that some of them want to be engineers, but what will they do when they graduate? Are they going to send their CV to every single company in the city? and hope that someone hires them? That's what a lot of graduates in engineering do. What are the chances that those companies are aligned with the challenges they want to work on? What are the chances that those companies are aligned with their values? What would happen if instead of being told what to do, they chose first? I'm sorry for provoking you with picking the winner. I was just trying to drive home that message of you getting to choose what you want to do, because there's so much power and agency when students get to choose themselves, make choices about their lives and their future. What I'm talking about here is very different than what they're used to, okay? This is what they're used to. We ask them, what's your favorite class? If they say math, maybe we'll tell them, well, you should go to university for accounting. It's a great degree, and you can get a job as an accountant and work for an accounting firm. Great. Maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, they realize, what does an accountant actually do? What are the challenges that they work on? Maybe they help companies collect better financial data so they make better decisions. Boring. I don't know. Maybe they help companies pay as little amount of tax as possible. And I don't know, maybe they love that, or maybe they hate it. I think you all know people in your networks that they got to the end and they said, you know what, this is really not it. This is not for me. What if we flip the model? What if we ask students, we invite them to explore challenges first? What does the world need? And then once they choose, then we help them work backwards to find companies that are working on challenges, the jobs that are there, like who's doing that? What was their path? What did they have to learn to be able to do that? And how does science fit in? Now all of a sudden, you're making science relevant to something they told you they care about, the challenge they want to work on. I call this flipping of the model. I call it the challenge mindset. It's a really powerful tool that you can use in your programming. So you can do that through the challenge cards. We have a physical version of the challenge card and a digital version of the challenge cards that you can use in your programming. And we're going to talk about it today. It's very simple to do. Students log in and they do the exercise. And here's what they learn. The world needs you. And this is a powerful message, because a lot of the students that are coming to see you, they might think the opposite. They might show up to see you and they feel like the world doesn't need them. I would see it differently. I think there's a lot of broken stuff to fix out there. I think there are plenty of opportunities and we're desperate for talent. And once they feel this, once you prove it to them by showing them real world problems, that gives them hope. And hope is a huge driver for so many other things, for engagement, for resiliency, for grit. If you can foster that sense of hope, imagine what they'll feel like when they leave. It's a powerful feeling. I want to give you an example, and then I want to pause there to get your reactions. This challenge mindset and challenge program, it's being used in so many different schools, colleges, universities, employment centers, nonprofits. And one of the boards that I worked with, they decided to do this with students who were disengaged. That was their focus. And I'm sorry, there's a lot of text on this slide, but essentially, I just want to tell you the story of a student who was struggling. She was what they called a non-attender, like she didn't go to class. When she did, she was disengaged. She was in grade 11, technically due to her age, but she barely had any credits to show for it. And her career ambitions were, surprise, surprise, tied to one job title, being a makeup artist. And even the teacher who supported this student was skeptical about anything that could be done to help them. And they didn't think it could work. Well, it did. Once that student lived through the challenge program, the challenge mindset, everything changed. She decided, here's what I want to work on. So her mindset changed. Now she was going to class, asking questions. She's completing credits to finish high school based on what she said she wanted to do. Okay, so she chose a challenge she wanted to solve. And then her teacher said, well, here's what you need to learn to be able to do that. All of a sudden, she saw the connection. So now she wants to look into the culinary arts. She cares about math and science again, because now she thinks, oh, this is connected. with what I want to learn with my new pathway. She's trying to get better grades and she's thinking about going to college. I know that's a lot of text. It's just, I want to make this little story come to life. And this is a different context than yours because this is in the classroom, but these are the types of differences that I think you're already making in the lives of students and that you're going to continue to make despite all the obstacles that 2022 brings your way. I think you're going to make differences in the lives of students. So let me ask this question to maybe launch us into a discussion. How would this challenge mindset benefit the students that you help? And you can answer in the chat or audio. Raise your hand, whatever you want to do, unmute. I'm happy to hear your ideas. My question is, how would the challenge mindset benefit the students that you help?
Well, I can jump in and start. I was actually going to mention this earlier because I think a lot of the students I find that come and like when I do Ask a Scientist segments or something where they can ask me anything, a lot of those students, they have an area that they're super, super interested in, one like niche area of science that they really, really love, but they don't really think about it as either a career opportunity or they don't think of it as, or they relate it too much to science and they think that that's too big of a thing. And I think that using this and actually looking at kind of what they're more interested in, as opposed to what jobs are there and learning like and deciding based off jobs. I think that's a really good idea, just talking about those little interests that they really are keeping inside of them and maybe just not talking about necessarily.
Thanks, Jen. Anybody else would like to share?
I can talk a little bit about how we used it this past summer, because we
Great.
used it with our camp program, our STEM Path program, which some of you, like I know Megan used it quite a bit. She delivered. And it has a huge impact on the students that attended. So we had kids come in that weren't necessarily engaged with school, had no interest in it. And we use the cards to frame it differently, as you said, JP, right? To really look at a challenge and to flip the traditional learning model. And for a lot of them, they left that 2-week program thinking, oh, now I have, a lot of them had 2 cards. They're like, either this or this, but they had direction and vision and were excited about kind of learning more about it and a way to guide them in. So we saw real results this summer applying that. And it's really invigorating for ourselves to be able to make that impact with kids, especially the ones that are like, science sucks and so does school. Like, I don't even know why I'm here. And to just flip that on its head, right? Like it was really great to see.
Thanks, Tina, for sharing that. Can you tell us a bit more? When you say real results, like tell me more about what that means.
Yeah, for us, real results is that they were able to see themselves in a career, in a path, right? So we had a lot of students that came that were just not interested in anything, right? You talk to them about, what do you want to do when you grow up? Or what is your interest? Are you interested in science? And our evaluations was like, no, I'm not interested in science at all. Like, that's not for me. It's not smart enough, or that's too complex. It's not something I ever considered. And then as the 2-week program went forward, we evaluated midpoint and we evaluated at the end. And we saw that most of the kids had an increase in their interest in science and pursuing science in high school or post-secondary. So that's what I mean in terms of real results, is that the challenge mindset was able to open their perspective to different opportunities that they necessarily wouldn't have seen because of the challenge mindset cards.
That's great, Tina. That really helps to bring it to life. Thank you for sharing that example. Max, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I was just thinking about these challenge, because I did the cards a little while ago when in the summer we got the cards and I tried them out, they were fun. But I'm thinking we're really focusing on the kids who have no interest in science, but I think this would also help the students who have a lot of interest in a lot of different things, because it helps focus their attention. Like I know someone personally in my life, she's a high school student, she loves robotics, but she really wants to go into health, and she's struggling with like, do I take these IB classes? Do I focus on robotics? And it's just, I love how it refocuses everything to you and an actual goal, so that you're not just like something in health, you're actually more pinpointed at something. So no matter what, it helps a student regardless if they're I hate science or I love science too much, you know. It's a really cool method.
Yeah, Max, it's important you say that because the obvious group is the I have no idea what I want to do. That's the most obvious group, even for the universities that are using this for the first time. That's who they target. But your group that you mentioned now, Max, is just as important. They're just as deserving, and they need guidance just as much as everyone else. Like if you have someone that says, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, they need to break that out. Well, what do those jobs do? What are the problems that they're trying to solve? I had someone, when I was doing one-on-one career coaching, he told me he wanted to do business law. So I said, okay, well, what's business law? And he's 17 at the time. And he said, it's a law about business. And I said, okay, well, that's a good starting point, but we got to dig deeper. We got to go further than that. Like, what does it actually do? What challenges are you trying to solve, right? So that's really important. The second thing that you said about a diversity of interests, I've seen thousands of people do the sort with the physical cards. And at some points, sometimes people say, oh, I don't know how to choose. And what I like to tell them is, you can't work on all the challenges at the same time. And that resonates with anyone, regardless of age. They know. And I also say, like, if you did, you wouldn't be very good, which I think is true as well. What's also true is that in their career, they can work on several different challenges, right? They can move, it can change, but not every one of them at the same time. So that tends to help them narrow down and focus so that they can explore more deeply. I'm going to go to a comment in the chat from Jose, and then we'll go to Ryan next. I think this would give students control over what they learn. Having their own control is what kids need versus being told what they need to do. I mean, I see it the same way as you, Jose. Like, I think they're walking in and they were told, that they're doing this. They're told that they're coming. You're the one who's in charge. But then when you do this, you kind of flip it and give it back to them. And a lot of them will panic once they realize, like, oh, I'm in charge, I'm in control. Like, if you ask them, hey, tell me your interests, just like Tina said, that doesn't work, right? It's too much of a culture shock to put them completely in control. But here's a technique, here's a way to get at what they care about that doesn't cause them to panic. And this is almost, this is true for older students as well. Caitlin says it gives students a sense of ownership over their own learning and career paths. Max agrees. It lets students generate new things to be interested in based on goals. Well said. And then Grace adds, I grew up saying I was going to be a vet all the way until first year university, when I suddenly realized I've been so focused on vet that I had blinders on to all the other passions I had and options out there. This mindset might have helped me keep an open mind and stay flexible on my path. Thanks for sharing that, Grace. Ryan, do you want to go next?
Yeah, well, I mean, I love the comments I'm seeing there. It just reminds me of, I think about the word agency. And also there's sort of this tension of feeling like a failure if you haven't picked your path, and giving kids, keeping that open. It just had me thinking that the goal really is to diverge before we converge, and the tendency is to want to find that sort of linear line. But that's even true for us as we engage with audiences and people who come into the Science Center or come to camps, where we sort of want to draw that quick line for them. And we almost have to resist that and keep it as open as possible for as long as possible. The math on that would be, we have tens of thousands of visitors. And if the goal is to get them all to be blue coats, I don't think that's the goal, but in a way, we do sort of promote that. I don't think it's a great success for society if 1,000 people apply for 100 jobs or 10 jobs, right? Because they felt like that was the only path. So it really is to keep open for as long as possible to challenges and possibilities. And I think we do a service for our audiences that way.
Thank you, Ryan. Hey, how much time do we have left, sir?
I think about 10 minutes officially.
Great.
And then if there's those that want to stay after and ask a few questions, we could probably do that. But I scheduled it for 45 minutes to leave a bit of a buffer for people.
Perfect. Here's what I suggest. Let's play. Let's do the game together. Let's play the challenge cards. I'm going to pass it over to Jasmine, and she's going to lead you through a demo for how to sign up. And we're hoping you could do it right now live. Typically, playing the challenge cards takes between 3 and 15 minutes, depending on your learning style. So this may not be enough time for you to do it as you would normally do it, but that's fine. We just want you to play. You could do it multiple times once you create your account. And I think that's the best way to use the rest of the time that we've got together. Jasmine, do you want to go next?
Yes. Okay, so I'll just put the link in the chat then for where to go to visit our app. So you're going to go to app.mysparkpath.com. And then in the slide deck, we have the code. So I'll put that in the chat as well.
And can you do it on your screen as well?
Yes. So pull this up here. Okay, so you'll want to come to the first link that I sent, app.mysparkpath.com, and then you'll want to hit sign up. So we want you today to sign up as a student. And then you can enter your information here, and here where it asks for the code, that's where you're going to put the code that's also in the chat. So it's ScienceNorth, capital letters, all capitals, 21. So if everyone wants to do that, then you'll be able to do the card sort.
Thanks, Jasmine. And can we get a volunteer in the chat just to let us know once you've done that, if it works? Max, you're in already? Great. Anybody having issues logging in? Grace, you're in as well. Good to go. Jasmine and I did this with a group of students in grade 6 last month, and they were not quick at doing this part of it. So this is good. This is a good speed. We like this. Okay, Sabrina's in, Laura's in. Good. Great. All right, so now it's time to play. There's instructions there that will show you what you need to do. I'd rather not say them out loud just to show you, like, hey, what if you didn't give instructions to the students? They just read them. What would it be like? And what we'll do is we'll give you, let's do 5 minutes now. We'll give you 5 minutes to play. And then we'll come back and we'll do a final Q&A debrief about the tool, how it went, and how to use it. And I'll share some more ideas with you. So I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock. It's 2:38. Let's get back at 2:42 or 2:43. How's that? Just going to do a time check if you want to take 1 or 2 minutes to wrap up, and then we'll see each other on the other side. Okay, if you slowly want to make your way back, so just quickly, some of the things that you saw, you sorted the challenge cards, you got to choose your favorite ones. At the end, you got to download your own challenge profile. When students do this exercise, there's a lot of ways you can debrief. They can share with you their top challenges that are on their main dashboard, or they can find them in their challenge profile. They can email those results to themselves. They can log in after they leave. They've got that as a standalone tool, like walking away from the session with you. You can ask them which challenges they picked and why. That's one way to make it come to life. And even in that challenge profile, there's a bunch of follow-up activities that they can do on their own in class, with a teacher or with a parent. And since we do have a couple minutes left with each other, I wanted to see if you had other questions, comments, reactions, or things you wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about yet.
I think for one of the things I noticed when you go through this is, and it changes a little bit as you sort of move through the cards because there's lots of them, is it sort of becomes about things that maybe you think you could do versus things that you're inspired to do or would like to do. I caught myself a couple of times being like, oh, but I don't know enough about that. Or like, I wouldn't have those types of skills in order to kind of fix that challenge. So, kind of keeping in mind that this isn't about your skills at the moment or your ability to do or what you think is possible or plausible, but rather just what really speaks to your heart and your values and stuff, right? So try to keep the head game out of it and try to keep the reasonable side of you at bay, right?
Yes, that's a good point, Sarah. I'm gonna tell you, you're completely right in what you said. I'm gonna tell you my point of view. This is a comment I hear way more from adults than from young people. And I don't even have a hypothesis as to why, but it's valid. I've heard it before. That being said, you may be tempted to give this as an instruction beforehand. And I would encourage you to be empirical in that decision. Here's what I mean. If you start doing this exercise and you get the same comments, complaints, issues with several students, play a little bit with the instructions. On my end, I've seen so many issues and I've decided to give minimal instructions because that issue can affect like a little bit of, like it only hurts a little bit of students a little bit, and it could skew other students that were going to be fine anyway. So I tend to give the least instructions possible. That's my point of view. I'm really open to how you decide to use it. I just encourage you to see what students are saying. Are they struggling with this or with this, with that? And like you have them in front of you, you have expertise in education. You're going to make this come to life in your own way. And as the more you use it, the more ideas you have about how to position it, how to debrief. And I welcome all of that. Thank you. Caitlin, it's also interesting already being in a career. I keep thinking about things I already do, then change that. Dairy Hertzperson sounds like a perfect fit for me. That's good, Caitlin. I like that. Okay, back to you, Ryan. Questions, comments, or things you wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would leave another round for questions, and I understand that some people will need to go based on the time that we blocked, but we'll be around for a bit more if you have. Any Futurama fans in the room? That series, yes, there are some. I used to use the first episode to teach with, to talk about the concepts of utopia and dystopia. And the first episode, if you remember, there's a great scene in there where when you come out of the chamber, you're assigned your role in the world, right? Like there's a machine. I don't know if you know this, JP, but it could be a tool you could use.
I'd
And
love
it's
to
like
see
a
it.
little zapper, and it sort of zaps you, and then the computer spits out exactly what you're gonna. Yes, welcome to the world of the future. And it gives you your lot in life. It just absolutely, I don't know, registers your DNA or something. And I think he's like a pizza delivery guy in his former life. And then it's like, you know, I don't know, food transport agent or something is what the machine says. And he says, wait, I'm a pizza delivery guy, you know, and I sort of had that experience when I went through this. It was a bit affirming because the three things that I do that sort of I came up with through the challenge are very much aligned with what I do today. But I would also say, quite surprisingly, they're very much aligned with what I did working for a mining company. So there's like a really, I don't know, there's something profound there in terms of it can surprise you where you might solve those challenges, right? Where you might be engaged in those challenges. And it would be true for kids. But I've always got that fallback too of pizza delivery guy, because that was my background too. But it was great. Thanks for walking us through. Any other questions or comments or ideas or that people have? We've got a bit of time. And clearly some people know that episode way better than even I did, having taught it 10 times. Like I'm not surprised. It's a good show.
I'm going to check it out. But hey, before we sign out, thanks for saying that, Laura and Max. I appreciate it. I think what you're doing is incredible. It's very valuable. And I really hope this is another tool in your toolkit that you can use to make what you're doing come to life, because it's really important. Students need it. And I'm thrilled that I got to hang out with you a little bit today. And I already look forward to the next time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Oh, I lost your audio for some reason. Is it just me?
No, I think you muted.
Sabrina,
for a
go
minute.
ahead. Do you have a question, Sabrina? Oh yeah, Sabrina, do you want to hang on?
We were
for a bit?
saying, I was just saying we couldn't hear you either. You like completely cut out for a
Oh,
couple
no.
of seconds there.
Yeah, but we could read your lips, and I saw it said, "This is the best presentation I've ever seen in my life." So don't worry, I got the message, but I just didn't hear it. Just kidding. All right, thanks everybody. Take care. See you next time.